Last week, ZANU-PF expelled Blessed and Kwate Geza and his background dancers from the party. This move was announced by Patrick Chinamasa, ZANU-PF's legal secretary, as if that would make it mean something. People get expelled from ZANU-PF all the time. At this point, ZANU-PF is like one of those clubs that has a strict dress code. If you know the right people, at some point we'll see you inside. Kirsty Coventry, who is one of the 7 candidates vying for the presidency of the International Olympic Committee, met with the current president of the IOC, Jay Shah, in Dubai last week, where she raised the very important issue of the Taliban ban on Afghanistan's women's cricket. Wait a minute. That's what she discussed? This is like finding out that your mother has opened a GoFundMe to raise school fees for the kids next door, when you yourself have been sent home for not paying school fees. What's going on in the Middle East is undoubtedly troubling, and it needs immediate attention. But should that attention be coming from Kirsty Coventry, our Minister of Sport? And before you say, can she do both? No, she can't. This weekend, the Warriors will be playing a World Cup qualifier next door in South Africa. Not at home. Next door in South Africa. And the person responsible for that is concerned with what's going on in the Middle East. I get what she's trying to do to beef up her CV. I truly get it. But do you know what would actually be impressive on that CV? Doing your job. Marshall Munetsi became the first Zimbabwean to score in the English Premier League since Benjani Marwaru 14 years ago. Famba Mashi. Famba! Local football is back and buzzing with excitement. The new boys, Scotland FC, made it 2 wins and 2 this past weekend by beating Giants Caps United. They're really playing like people who know that their boss is a gold mine. Very keen to see how long this lasts. I couldn't help but notice something that felt a little bit like an anomaly though. Is Morse FC owned by Morse World of Sport, as in the betting platform? How is that? What am I missing here? How is that allowed? The Oscars were last week. So were the Namas. Killer T won Song of the Year. Mujaya won Best Skits. Tammy Moy won Best Female. King Kandoro won. That's me. I just want to quickly say thank you to God, to the Namas, to my Maita, and to you, the people, for all the support that you give me. Nyabonga. This award is just as yours as it is mine. Let's see if we can get this show nominated for a NAMA next year. Now guys, why is everyone all of a sudden obsessed with having a doctorate? I mean, I get their allure, but what is it about power that makes people want to inflate their achievements, to make themselves seem much more than they actually are? All of a sudden you forget that there's people that knew you in real life before you became a minister or an MP. Please respect us. Marondera came to a standstill this past weekend as the philanthropist-in-chief got married in what looked like a very lovely, very expensive ceremony. All of Zimbabwe's who's who were there. Jabreza was there. Enzo Aisha was there. Tajimaka was there. Kilati was there. Let's just say, if you didn't get a car, and you also didn't get an invitation to Marondera, I was some cut. There's a conversation that I've wanted us to have for some time now, but I've always been worried about coming off as a hater. Then I remembered I am a hater. So let me just ask, my people, is there a correlation between the rise of the Mbingas and the death of the public school system? If you haven't already, please pull up a chair, because this might be a long one. Ladies and gentlemen, war vets and unfocused youth, welcome to another episode of Propaganda with Kandoro. Let's start this conversation properly. What is Mbinga? Who is Mbinga? What's the threshold to being Mbinga, and how are they different from the regular rich person? Mbinga feels like one of those words that snuck up on us and slotted itself right into urban lexicon. One day we were all saying, Murungu! And then someone decided to spice it up and threw the word Mbinga into the fold, and we all like, Everyone immediately understood what it was, and that was that. Amongst much of what is understood is the understanding that Mbinga is not just a rich person, but a rich person who is not afraid to flaunt it. It's in the clothes, the cars, the first-class flights, the holidays. It's a whole package. Victor and Kevin, the planner, have to be on your speed dial. Otherwise, your team cheers here. What's also understood is that Mbingas are the people that can make things happen. Because over and above everything, what matters the most to them is getting the people going. Kusimudza chaunga.
Mkuru wala umbotaura nemianzi ne mkuru la umbotaura nema players.
That's machamba sa. I'm sponsor strikes na uzonia tu fara. Fala bana. Choose 5 bana kwa nyato tamba wewe. Umbokuwa maakwa 5.
We've always had flashy rich people in Zimbabwe. I, for one, was raised via the Philip Chiangwa School of Flex. Boss Feeder was a trending topic before trending topics were trending topics. He was a staple at every break time in every primary school. And I have no doubt this was happening at high schools too. You would find us huddled in some corner, fiercely debating the features of his latest car that none of us had ever seen. And there would always be that one student who claimed to have a little bit more information than the rest of us. You're not Mr. Chiangwa. To be a child. Before Philip Chiangwa, there was James Makamba. Before James Makamba, there was Roger Boka. Before Roger Boka, there was Solomon Tawengwa. Before Solomon Tawengwa, I'm sure you get the idea. But there's several big differences between the Mbingas of yesteryear and the Mbingas we have now. Chief amongst these differences is how the older generation of Mbingas would go to great lengths to create some sort of credibility around how they got their wealth. From time to time, you would come across planted stories of how they used to wake up at 4 a.m. to buy madomas kwamrewa on a bicycle, about how they started their businesses with $56. All these stories designed to give the impression of some sweat having left their body. In public, there was a clear demarcation between politics and business. But these new age Mbingas, these ones absolutely do not care about the information vacuum and how it will lead to speculation. In fact, they encourage speculation because talkability is a big part of their social capital. They are very keen and quick to show us how connected they are to the powers that be. Which is confusing to me because it immediately nullifies any and all suspicion that their newfound wealth and status is as a result of hard work. But what do I know? This Mbinga phenomenon truly took off in the early 2000s amidst the hyperinflation meltdown, which gave birth to a new breed of hustler tycoons. As the salaries from conventional jobs got reduced to nothing by inflation, entrepreneurial and sometimes illicit ingenuity became the main path to prosperity. A decade of dollarization and mass immigration after 2008 hollowed out the formal economy, while a lucky and well-connected few found fortunes in the black market and patronage networks. The worse the economy became, the more socially accepted this dubious wealth grew. But what does any of this have to do with the decline of the public school system? Well, please walk with me. Years of economic crisis have left schools severely underfunded. In 2024, 7.2% of the national budget was spent on servicing government's debt. And this is compared to the 4.1% that was spent on education. A parliamentary report in the same year found that Of the 300 schools that were slated for construction, only 83 were completed. Zimbabwe has a shortage of over 2,800 schools that are needed to meet student needs. Existing facilities are literally falling apart. Rural schools have to contend with thatched roofs and mud walls, while urban schools have broken desks and roofless classrooms. Even more alarming is the human capital exodus from the education sectors. Thousands of teachers unable to survive on pitiful salaries have quit. Unions estimate that at least 20,000 teachers resigned in the last year alone. And when they say resigned, what they really mean is they suddenly find out that the teacher who has not been showing up to school is now in the UK. Hello? Chi? Homwagi? Haiwa ndoza kupindura mirandi bwabeza. Ndiri kushift. Ndati ndiri kushift ine. Ene. Wawele kundati ine. There is an estimated deficit of at least 50,000 teachers. The reality on the ground is that many public school classes swell up to 45 plus students per teacher, which is nearly double the recommended ratio. An overstretched and demoralized teaching force means learning quality has plummeted. As fees and levies rise while incomes stagnate, more children are dropping out of school. A national survey conducted just last year shows that at least 22% of children that are of school-going age are not actually in school. As government schools decline, those with means increasingly turn to private schools or former mission schools, many of which now charge ridiculously high school fees just to educate their children. This has effectively privatized education, making it a luxury product. Urban elite private schools boast very small classes, well-paid teachers and up-to-date facilities and near 100% pass rates. From the early 80s right into the late 90s, education, public education to be specific, was Zimbabwe's pride and surest path to success. The Zimbabwean dream was to excel in school, to get a profession, and to uplift your family and community. But today's young people have watched that dream crumble. They see university graduates unemployed and teachers struggling in poverty, while on the other hand, the uneducated hustler drives the latest Mercedes-Benz and wears Gucci. The status that came with being educated has been eroded, and in its place is this creed that glorifies making money by any means necessary, even if it means flouting the law or moral norms. The Mbinga ecosystem is not only a terrible indictment of how far down our once proud public education system has fallen, but also evidence of a profound shift in societal values. In gold-rich areas like Gwanda, teenagers are abandoning school in droves to join illegal gold mining, chasing the instant cash it offers. And because parents are either deceased or working abroad, there is very little to deter them from taking such a career path, especially when older siblings and peers are already making a living from gold panning. We're living in a community where children don't get inspired by education, but by illegal gold panning. This is where things are. Even border jumping looks like an option because there's quick money. Now here's the tricky part. The more young people believe that school won't actually secure their future, the less they invest in education, which in turn leads to higher dropout rates and poorer performances, which only validates their initial belief that education, apana. It's a Ponzi scheme, and someone needs to do something. Many parents struggling to survive now push their children into income-generating activities rather than keep them into class. When I was in school, you couldn't go back home if the child next door had a better report card than you. My mother would want to know how exactly this happened. Are you not at the same school? Do you not have the same teacher? Kwenzakalani la chichikuitika. But these days, who cares? Why care? You're more likely to get into trouble if the kid next door comes back from soccer bet with more money than you. Even fembera izvi akutogoni. Saka chaunogona chi? What's even more common is coming across a 30-something-year-old that you have never heard of, but has a social media following that's well in the thousands. Every other post of theirs shows off their big mansion and luxury cars, and the comments are filled with adoring fans that call them Boss Candizo, Madiko Chimdara, Chimosiak something, despite there being zero evidence of where they got this money from.
The game of a chance provides a lifeline for Zimbabweans struggling to provide for their families in tough economic times at a popular betting house in Harare. Less than 20% of Zimbabwe's people are in formal employment, according to independent economists. Men between the ages of 18 and 55, according to the owner of the betting house, spend their days placing bets, mostly on international soccer matches and horse racing at the soccer shop.
Just trying my luck. I can come with $5 and maybe go home with $70 or $80. So basically, you know, the family needs to feed. They want something on the table. And sometimes out there, at work it will be stuck. There's nothing happening there, so you just come here and try your luck. Sometimes you lose, sometimes you win.
The rise of the Mbinga and the decline of the public school system in Zimbabwe are two sides of the same coin, both born from economic collapse and poor governance, and each exacerbating the other. Rebuilding the public school system and restoring faith in it will be key in breaking the cycle. Equally important is addressing the root economic issues. We have to create real opportunities for educated youth so that schooling leads somewhere. Only by tackling both fronts can Zimbabwe hope to realign its culture to once again celebrate learning and hard work over seemingly ill-gotten gains. But it's also not lost on me how the current situation as it stands is highly beneficial to many people's political fortunes. So why change it? Why bother reviving the values of Wono, of Ubuntu, to counter the rampant individualism when this chaos works? Because a depressed economy means a distracted people. The stakes are very high. And my Sazita Mukudze Mdewanyika said it best when they said, the clash between the Mbinga culture and the Zimbabwean dream is really a battle for the Zimbabwean soul. A battle that will determine whether the country rebuilds on the foundations of knowledge and integrity or continues to spiral in a haze of bling and decay. Will things change? I guess time will tell. This has been another episode of Propaganda with Kandoro. Catch you guys next Monday.